Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us at this amazing event that Pet Food Express is hosting for all of you. I am so happy to share some of the benefits of fresh whole food. Now, let's move next on my slide deck. Oh boy, here we go. There we go. All right, guys. Sorry about that technical difficulty there. Good morning. I am Dr. Jessica Wilson, and I am the director of the veterinary community here at Just Food for Dogs, which is carried by Pet Food Express. I am so very excited to share some knowledge about the benefits about fresh whole foods for your pets. I have pets myself. I actually have 3 cats and 2 dogs. My kitties' names are Beerus, Suske, and Rupert, and they have been enjoying those benefits of fresh whole food for quite some time now. And I also have 2 dogs. So I'm a pet parent as well, and my dogs are definitely enjoying these benefits. I actually have a 14-year-old Australian Shepherd mix named Lana Lang and a terrier who's 8 or 9 years old, and his name is Peter Parker, and they have been thriving being on fresh whole foods. Now, today we are going to talk about what is a fresh whole food diet, and I'm going to be very specific and clarify for you guys what the differences are between a fresh whole food diet and some of the other types of diets that are out there on the market. So here we've got some very clear distinctions and differentiators, but I'm going to elaborate a little bit more. So here you guys can see there is a bowl of delicious fresh whole food ingredients, and that's actually a beef and russet potato recipe from Just Food for Dogs, and it is all human grade, meaning that every single ingredient and the resulting product, meaning that finished meal, are stored, handled, processed, and transported in a way that is consistent and compliant with the regulations for current good manufacturing practices, or you may see the abbreviation CGMP, and that is specific for human edible foods. Now, you guys can see this abbreviation, AFCO, the American Association of Feed Control Officials, and this is the organization that actually provides guidelines for pet food regulation, and so there's a very clear definition there. Now, there is another category of ingredients called feed grade ingredients, and these are typically what are suitable for animal consumption. And these are materials and ingredients that have been determined to be safe and functional and suitable for its intended use in animals. And so these conform to the Federal Food and Drug Cosmetic Act, so that is run by the FDA, and unless otherwise expressly permitted by the appropriate state or federal agency. So that means there is food that is meant for human consumption, and then there is also food that is meant for animal consumption. And so usually the food that is meant for animal consumption can be prepared, and most commonly is prepared in a more processed manner. So that's where you're going to see your kibble diets or your canned diets. Very different from a fresh whole food recipe. So it's kind of, think about your human food, right? And if you're eating fresh whole food as a human, compared to processed food, prepackaged food, think about your like protein bars and those types of diets, they've got all the nutrients that you need, but typically you're probably going to feel a whole lot better and your body's going to be a whole lot happier if you're consuming fresh whole food. And I'm going to elaborate as to some of the reasons why and what your pets, or rather what you're going to see in your pets once they make the switch to fresh whole food. So here are some of the benefits, because that's the big question is, well, but my dog or my cat is eating the diet they've always been eating and they've been doing great. And that's typically the case. But what about the benefits if I make the switch to fresh whole food? What changes will I see in my dog or cat? We also have a cat diet too. So here are some of the things that you guys as pet parents are going to notice when you make a switch to fresh whole food diet. You may see that your dog is a bit more excited at mealtime, and their appetite might actually improve. If you are a pet parent that has a dog that may seem to have a picky appetite, and I actually have my small terrier, Peter Parker, who was very picky for a very, very, very long time, you may notice the improvement in that apparent lack of appetite. And guys, it's not that your dog may be picky. If they're begging for your food, that means that they're onto something. They're likely wanting to embrace a fresh whole food diet. So with that, once they start to make the switch, you're going to see increased energy as well. Why? Because they're absorbing their nutrients. And I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into that on a couple of slides here. You may notice a healthier, shinier coat, improvements in certain skin conditions, things that may end up actually clearing up that may be associated with allergies. You may see improvements if you've got a type of dog that is prone to tear staining, or the staining on their paws because they're licking their paws all the time, which may be due to allergies. You'll see improvement there. Now, better digestion, that is a big deal because they're actually able to absorb more nutrients in the food when they're actually consuming a fresh whole food diet. So you're going to see smaller poops. Like, who doesn't want to pick up less poop, right? So very commonly, you may notice that your dog is actually going to the bathroom less frequently than before when they start to consume a fresh whole food diet. And that's actually to be expected. You're also going to see, well, you may not see this, but it may manifest in perhaps less frequent vet visits or smaller bills, stronger immune systems. So with that ability to absorb more nutrients from a fresh whole food diet, you may see less frequency of certain types of infections and overall better health in the long run. Here's another great thing, better hydration. With fresh whole food, you're actually going to have more moisture in the diet. And very commonly, you'll see that your dog is drinking less water. And that is very typical for dogs that actually are consuming a fresh whole food diet. They're less thirsty because they're getting a lot of moisture in their food. And then, of course, living a life full of vitality with the energy that they are gaining. And it's almost like they get kind of a mental clarity. I know I witnessed that myself with my own dogs, in particular my little terrier who was the picky dog, but is no longer picky, eating a fresh whole food diet. And honestly, it almost seems like he is more responsive to our training, exercises, and he's just a bit brighter and more alert now that he is eating fresh whole food. And it's kind of like, guys, it's a little bit of a no-brainer, right? Where you're eating real food, you just feel a whole lot better when it's not processed, right? So wanted to give you guys some of the examples of some of those benefits that you're going to be seeing if you make that switch to fresh whole food for your dogs. Now, here is an awesome testimonial because here's another benefit. Easier to manage their weights. So Bear here, you could see the photograph on the left is Bear's looking pretty good, right? That he's looking pretty lean, pretty svelte. And over here, this is the before photo on the right-hand side. Bear was very, very, very overweight. And it was a challenge for Bear's pet parent to get that weight off with the conventional diets that were out there. So Bear made the switch to fresh whole food. And here's that testimonial. And I'll read this out loud. I'm not sure if closed captioning is on, but I'll read this out loud for you guys. And this is a testimonial from pet parent Lindsay, who is Bear's guardian. My friend has a science background, so she shared the science behind Just Food for Dogs and told me all about how it's made fresh and local, open to the public kitchens. We started off trying all of the recipes, but ended up sticking to the turkey and whole wheat macaroni recipe, and that's one of our daily diets because it's the most nutrient dense of all of the recipes. In the first 7 months, Bear lost nearly 30 pounds, and the great thing was Bear wasn't starving anymore. He lost the weight and was still completely satisfied. Bear went from being 170 pounds down to a healthy and happy 140 pounds. Now, Bear's a big dog, guys. He is a lot more active and playful, and I can tell he's a happier dog, and that makes me happy. And that's a testimonial. That's a real testimonial from pet parent Lindsay. I've actually gotten to meet Bear, and Bear is the sweetest dog and so much happier being on fresh whole food and getting that weight off. And guys, the studies have been conclusive in humans and in dogs. Keeping your dogs leaner, a bit on that leaner side, is going to help with that longevity. It's going to be easier on their joints. It's going to be easier on their internal organs. And so definitely a fresh whole food recipe, you're going to have an easier time getting the weight off. And make sure to consult with your veterinarian regarding what the best plan will be as far as that calorie intake. It makes sense. We've got a dog that needs to lose weight. Of course, we want to increase activity, get them to exercise more, and then, of course, manage the calorie intake. So always talk to your veterinarian about what that ideal body weight should be. And when you decide to make that switch to fresh whole food, make sure that you guys are feeding for the desired body weight. Because let's take Bear here. If we were to feed him maintenance calories per day for his previous weight at 170 pounds, guess what? He's going to stay at 170 pounds because we're not feeding him with that little bit of restriction. So ideally, you'd want to feed for the desired weight, whether that's for weight loss. In this case, Bear needed to get calories in for 140 pounds of body weight to get him to that weight. So it's a calorie reduction. Now, let's say it was the opposite scenario, guys, because it's weight management. We're not specific. This testimonial is very specific about weight loss. But let's say maybe you have a dog that needs to gain weight. Then, of course, you want to feed him or her according to the desired higher body weight. And there are a variety of recipes that are available there. And with Just Food for Dogs, we've got a lot of options, some that are a bit more calorie dense and nutrient dense, and some that are a little bit on the leaner side. So picking a recipe that's going to be tailored for the goal, if it's weight loss or weight gain, is something that our partners at Pet Food Express can absolutely talk to you guys and counsel you guys about and help you select the right type of recipe. So wanted to share that very impactful testimonial, and that is Bear for you guys. Now, I mentioned the smaller poops or the less frequent poops. So a study has been conducted, and this is a digestibility study. And I want to explain what digestibility means before I dive into this slide, which has our endearingly, we are able to use poop emojis, right? So a study was conducted in dogs where they were consuming human-grade fresh whole food ingredients. And those dogs were compared to dogs that were consuming a fresh whole food brand that wasn't all completely human-grade ingredients. And then those dogs were also compared to dogs that were consuming a processed diet, and this was a kibble diet. And so what was found is that the dogs that were consuming fresh whole food, and so let's kind of hone in on the smallest poop emoji, the one that's all the way on the right-hand side, where it says 44 grams per day. So don't worry so much about the numbers because I'm going to give it to you guys in a nutshell here. The dogs that were eating the human-grade fresh food were actually able to consume more volume of food. Remember, not processed, it's just cooked to food safety temperatures. And those dogs were able to eat more food, yet they were producing up to 60% less feces or less poop as waste, compared to the dogs all the way on the left-hand side that were consuming that processed kibble diet. They were actually consuming much less volume of food, and they were producing way more waste. And then even interestingly enough, so it's that differences between human grade versus not human grade, the dogs in the middle, they had improvements. They were actually able to eat more and more food compared to the processed diet, the dogs that were eating the processed diet. And they did consume a little bit more and produce a little bit less poop, but still far more impactful. The dogs that were consuming human grade fresh whole food were producing 40% less feces than the dogs in the middle that were eating another fresh food brand. So in a nutshell, eating real food that's human grade, you're able to eat more food. And as a human, I love food and I want to eat more of it, but it's awesome to know that there is a specific reason that these dogs are producing less waste. The body is actually able to digest and absorb. So that's what digestibility means. It's the body's ability to break down the nutrients after they're consumed and actually absorb the nutrients. And so that is a big key differentiator between a processed diet and a fresh whole food human grade diet. You can eat more food, your dogs are going to be happier because they can eat more volume, yet they're going to produce less waste. because they're actually absorbing the nutrients way more readily. And a study was conducted prior to this digestibility study that proved that real food, the dogs will be able to absorb 85 to 90% more nutrients compared to the processed diet. So this is a big deal, guys. And this is the reason why, if your dog is already consuming a fresh whole food diet and you're really not picking up that much poop compared to when they were eating a processed diet, this is the reason why. So you're going to see smaller stools, less frequent potentially. My terrier, Peter Parker, he used to poop maybe 3 to 4 times a day, and it was really stinky, and sometimes it was kind of soft. And when I made that switch to fresh whole food, as a veterinarian, I was blown away seeing this result. And he only poops maybe 1 to 2 times a day, and it barely smells at all. And it's because his body's actually absorbing those nutrients. He doesn't really ever have gas, and he's brighter and more energetic. So wanted to share that with you so that you guys can really truly understand the reasons why you're going to see less poop. So the next very common question we get is, can the types of foods that they eat, meaning our dogs, affect their allergies? In other words, is a fresh whole food diet better for dogs that have allergies? And so here are some of the examples of ways that allergies in dogs will manifest. So you may have a manifestation or some symptoms that appear with the skin. You may also have some symptoms that appear with the gastrointestinal tract or GI tract or digestive tract. So I've come up with some bullets here of some of the things that you may notice in your dogs if they have some sort of skin allergies. And you may notice itching. So itchy skin, your dogs are constantly itching and scratching or licking a lot. A dry, flaky coat, that can be a sign potentially of there being some sort of allergic component. Redness of the skin, that can be the only sign sometimes. And then you may have a dog that has recurring skin infections, recurring ear infections. Remember, guys, the ears, that's all part of the skin. And so these are some of the symptoms that you may notice in your dog. Sometimes it is a combination of reasons as to why they may manifest in what appears to be skin allergies. Sometimes it's the food. Sometimes it's the environment. Sometimes it's parasites like flea bites. And so very important to have that conversation with your veterinarian. Now, if you have a dog that has a sensitive tummy, they may have an allergy to a food ingredient or an intolerance to a food ingredient. And so this is what you may see. You may see soft stools frequently or diarrhea. You may see vomiting after eating certain types of food. You may have a dog that has a hard time gaining or maintaining weight. It could be because of intolerance in the diet. Also, this one is something that I've noticed anecdotally throughout the years, and even in my own dog. Again, Peter Parker is my prime example, my own terrier. A bit of an agitated dog or a nervous dog. The nervous system and the gastrointestinal tract are very intimately connected. So if you have a dog that has constant gastrointestinal issues or a sensitive tummy, and they're a very nervous kind of dog, it may be due to a food intolerance. And so very important to have a conversation with your veterinarian about these symptoms. If you notice a trend where your dog is constantly having gastrointestinal or digestive problems, and maybe some behavioral issues as well. So these are some of the allergies, and I put that in quotes because sometimes it's just an intolerance to a certain ingredient, or it may be an intolerance to something that is added to the food as well when the food is processed, if it is a processed diet. And so here we have a testimonial, and this is an English bulldog here. And if any of you guys out there have bulldogs or any of those bully breeds, in particular the ones that are white, you may notice some of these signs that I've mentioned or these symptoms that I've mentioned may be a bit familiar. But Kayla here, it's a 5-year-old Kayla, like many English bulldogs, struggled with skin allergies since she was a puppy. So very young age, started having these issues. She often had flare-ups that would get so bad that she would scratch herself until her skin was red, inflamed, and bloody. Pet parent Lourdes did everything she could to help Kayla, taking her to the vet once a month for a shot, an Apoquel prescription, to changing her food. Nothing gave Kayla the long-term relief she desperately needed. And you can see here on that left-hand side how extreme these symptoms manifested with her. Now, after years of ineffective attempts, a friend recommended Just Food for Dogs beef and russet potato recipe, and that's one of our daily diets. Fast forward 4 months, and Kalia is a completely different dog. Her once red, inflamed, and bloody skin has been transformed to a healthy, normal state, and the constant itching has completely stopped, which makes Lourdes and her vet very, very happy. Now, as a veterinarian, I see poor Kalia, over here on the left, having this such an extreme reaction. And it was found in this case that food was part of the problem. And so imagine having such severe discomfort on your skin and distress. You'd probably be a bit grumpy, right? And so this is what I mean about some of those behavioral components. You might be a bit agitated. I know whenever I've had an allergic reaction to certain things, I'm so uncomfortable. I can't seem to find the relief. And so that can affect mood and behavior in your pets as well. So keep that in mind. They may have an ear infection. It may not be this extreme or this severe, but they may have recurring ear infections that are painful and uncomfortable. And so again, take that into consideration. And when you're having that conversation with your veterinarian, to consider a fresh whole food recipe that's human grade, because here, this is so impactful for the quality of life of this dog in particular here on the slide, Kalia, and it may be something that can improve the quality of life of your own dog at home. So wanted to share that example with you. Hard to show a visual example of dogs that have digestive issues or diarrhea, and we certainly didn't want to get graphic with any photographs of that product of diarrhea. But again, as a reminder, keep in mind if your dog is constantly having digestive issues, maybe they've got weight loss along with that, and you're just having a really hard time keeping that weight on or getting them to gain weight. So again, have that conversation with your vet about potentially embracing a fresh whole food diet for those issues. Now, I want to also address some of the more common myths about pet food and fresh whole food concerns that some pet parents have with whole food diets, because they are soft. So, and I'll get to that soft component here in a moment, but one that I want to cover beforehand, which tends to be a hot topic, is my dog allergic to grains? Now, grains, unfortunately, have been picked on for many, many, many years. Grains are totally fine for dogs, guys. The difference is how these grains are sourced and how they're processed, right? So for a dog to have a grain allergy, it's very, very, very uncommon. And gluten is the protein component in a grain that a dog could be allergic to, but it is very rare, guys. In humans that have gluten intolerances, that's legitimate, but in dogs, very, very rare. It can happen, but in order to diagnose that, a veterinarian would have to obtain biopsies of your dog's intestinal tract and send that out to a lab and run a slew of other tests to see if that is truly a gluten allergy. And of course, if diagnosed, then we know we need to avoid grains at all costs. Now, here are, because I want to explain the differences between grains and the different types of grains that are out there, and mainly the human grade grains versus the grains that are feed grade. And so they're not all handled the same way. And so there may be issues with mold with the grains that are utilized in pet food brands. And these are some of those lower quality pet food brands that don't source with this in mind. Now, Pet Food Express, with all of their products that they've got on the shelves, they have done a very good job at vetting every single supplier here. So you don't have to worry about this with Pet Food Express. But again, there are many different brands that are out there, and they vary in the way that they source ingredients. So here we've got some examples of, we've got corn, here we've got soybean, and you're gonna notice this stuff on this material, this black material, this kind of greenish material here, that's all mold. And so mold is a big problem. Mold gets killed off in the processing methodology to make pet food. However, sometimes there are waste products that linger behind, and those are often the culprits. So again, I wanted to just educate everyone here. Grains are perfectly fine for dogs, absolutely. But it's a matter of making sure that they are human grade grains or that they are sourced in that manner. So again, grain allergies, very rare, but grains are totally fine for dogs. Remember, dogs are not wolves. Dogs can consume so many things. And in fact, dogs Out in the wild, sure, they may hunt for small game, maybe a bird or a rodent here and there, but usually what are they doing? They're scavengers, right? They're going to get into the trash. They're usually stay by human societies on the outskirts, and they kind of clean up for us. And let's think about this in your own household. And I am living proof as well as the veterinarian. Hey, guess what, guys? Sometimes my dogs get into the trash. What are they doing? They're scavenging, right? They'll eat anything that falls on the ground. And so, again, just wanted to kind of clarify that too. Dogs can absolutely have grains. They can absolutely digest those carbohydrates. It's just about being mindful about the types of grains and how they are sourced. So I wanted to get that clarified. So next up, teeth. Now, I have an extensive background in dentistry and oral surgery. I'm actually a residency trained veterinary dentist and oral surgeon. I don't practice any longer, but I have a lot of expertise here when it comes to teeth. And a very common question I get as veterinary dentist is, does my dog need kibble for the crunch? Or I thought kibble cleaned teeth, or the hard diets, right? And the answer, sorry to break it to you guys, kibble doesn't clean teeth. But I'm going to advocate for you guys and for your pets, because crunchy food, although it's fun to eat, and think about this, if you guys ate cereal or crackers all day but never brush your teeth, things would probably look a bit gnarly in your mouths, right? And so dogs get periodontal disease or gum disease just like humans do. And so what do we do as humans? We brush our teeth every day, multiple times a day. We floss, we go to our dental hygienist and our dentist every 3 to 6 months or every year, depending on how your gum disease is managing. And guess what? The same is true for dogs. If they're just eating crunchy treats or a crunchy meal in the form of kibble, it doesn't replace home care in toothbrushing. Now, as a veterinarian, I also am very well aware, not every dog is going to allow you to brush their teeth, but there are other things that you can do. So regardless of what your dog is consuming, whether it's a crunchy kibble diet or a canned diet or a fresh whole food human grade recipe, I'm going to advocate, we always want to at least do a dental chew. So at least one chew per day, and Pet Food Express has a variety of different types of chews. That is going to be the most effective thing to do for your dog to help kind of keep things slow, right? As far as that gum disease is progressive. You can't stop it, but you can do the best that you can in order to mitigate it or keep it under control. If you can brush your dog's teeth every single day, that would be ideal, or at least every other day. If you cannot, because your dog won't let you, your dog is a little bit head shy, or seems painful or uncomfortable, please, please, please make an appointment with your veterinarian, because if there is pain in the mouth and you're trying to brush your dog's teeth, it's going to be a really painful experience, and I don't want you guys to ruin the bond that you guys with your dog. And so get your dog evaluated by your veterinarian so they can do a complete oral exam, a complete oral health assessment, come up with a plan. If there's a bad tooth in there that needs to come out, get that guy out. Just get that tooth out. Dogs and cats, they don't care about missing teeth. What I care about as a veterinary dentist is I want your dog and your cats to be pain-free. So that's the first thing I would do if you notice, oh, my dog's not really letting me near their mouths, they're painful, they're uncomfortable, or you're noticing bad breath. Please get that addressed. And then once they are pain-free, you can start approaching them in regard to brushing those teeth, and talk to your veterinarian about how to go about that, because it's a slow and steady kind of thing. Pet Food Express also has toothbrushes and toothpaste. So talk to our Pet Food Express partners because they can also help educate you on how to go about this, especially if you got new puppies. That's the best time to start to get them used to it. So to reiterate, no matter what they're eating, whether it's a kibble diet that you pick up at Pet Food Express, or a canned diet, or a fresh whole food recipe, please, 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 at least one dental chew a day, or the best thing would be daily toothbrushing. Now, we have a lot of resources here through not only Pet Food Express, but you can also check out our Just Food for Dogs social media. We have a great Instagram page where I've done actually some IG lives or Instagram lives talking about fresh whole food, talking about oral care, dental care. So you can go on that at JustFoodForDogs on Instagram. But again, you guys have such amazing resources. Every single person on the Pet Food Express team is so knowledgeable about all things dental health, all things nutrition. So utilize our Pet Food Express partners because they can definitely set you in the right direction. So any questions? And I see actually there have been some questions here in the chat. So let me just take a look here. Oh boy, let's see. So I'm going to read the question to you guys before I answer it here. So let's see here. Sherry asks, I've been using the joint and skin formula. So that's actually one of our daily recipes, and it's a pork and quinoa based recipe. And it is a wonderful option for a novel protein. And I didn't touch on that buzzword, but I'll elaborate here. So Sherry asked, she's been using the joint and skin formula for her dog. I've been mixing it with Royal Canin duck diet because of a possible ear allergy. He is a Cocker Spaniel and has frequent ear infections. May not be related to the food. Not sure. Can you just feed this food and not kibble? I wish the price wouldn't keep going up because it's very expensive. And if it keeps going up, not sure how long I'll be able to use it. All right. So Sherry, thank you for your question. And thank you so much for taking such good care of your Cocker. Now, Cocker Spaniels, yes, they are a challenge. And partly because, yes, they can be prone to having skin issues. But the big thing, and you can see my hair here is kind of Cocker Spanielish, right? And so they've got these super long ears, right? Super long, really kind of lots of hair on those ears. And so here are my ears, right? They don't have a whole lot of airflow that goes into those ears, right? Because of these long, floppy, very hairy ears. And so that part of that is, yes, your dog may have a skin allergy component, maybe related to food, but part of it is also anatomically, they just don't have a lot of airflow here. So my recommendation would be, now you're using the joint and skin formula and a duck diet as well. So these two proteins, duck and the pork that's utilized in that joint and skin recipe, now these two are considered novel protein diets, right? However, we're mixing them together, and it is always possible that there is an intolerance to, for example, in that Royal Canin diet, even though it is a novel protein, it is still a processed type of food. There may be an additive in that type of diet that may be also contributing to the food intolerance. So that is something to consider. When we have a dog where we suspect, now I'm giving you guys a very broad overview here on the novel protein and how to medically treat. Now, Sherry, I can't give you I don't have your dog in front of me. I haven't examined your dog, so I can't give you very specific advice, but I can give you guys the general advice here. So in order to figure out whether or not a dog is truly going to be responsive to switching to a novel protein diet, and a novel protein is typically a protein that is novel or new to your dog, and so it takes several exposures for the immune system to become intolerant or have an allergic response. And this doesn't often make sense, but I'll explain it this way. I'll take myself for an example. I love shellfish. I used to eat shellfish. I developed an allergy to shellfish, sadly, so I can no longer eat it. And it's because my immune system repeatedly saw shellfish and then decided for some reason, we're not going to like it. So we're going to overreact, and you're going to have itchy ears, and your throat's going to close up, and oh my gosh, I may need an EpiPen. So I avoid shellfish, of course. And so it takes repeated exposures. So your dog may be on a certain protein that it's been on for a long time, and then all of a sudden it can come down with an intolerance or an allergy. My suggestion is to Sherry to perhaps make the switch completely to that joint and skin formula because that pork is a novel protein. Now, in regards to cost, we have other options that are novel proteins as well, where if maybe you cook at home, that would perhaps be a little bit more cost effective for you. So talk to the team member at Pet Food Express that you're connected to because although we don't have the DIY kit or do-it-yourself meal kit for this particular recipe, the joint and skin formula, we do have options such as fish and sweet potato. If your Cocker has never had fish, and the fish that we use is cod, that may be a more feasible alternative because you can cook it at home. Buy it, go to Costco or wherever you'd like to shop, buy the ingredients in bulk, and then you can cook. It may be more cost effective. Also, the other recipe that may be beneficial would be venison. So again, you can source your own ingredients. You can cook that at home. And we also, through Just Food for Dogs, and the Pet Food Express folks can educate on this. We can also create a diet that's very specific for you as well, for your Cocker Spaniel. So that's what, the novel protein kind of talk in a nutshell is if your dog has symptoms similar to Sherry's Cocker Spaniel, you may want to consider getting them completely off of the processed foods and embracing a novel protein that's human-grade fresh whole food. Now, another question I have here, I've been recommended to use plaque off powder, chews and treats. Have you heard of these? People rave about it. So actually, I'm a big fan of plaque off. I use it on my own pets as well. And the cool thing is plaque off is one of the products that is considered approved. It's been researched by the Veterinary Oral Health Council. So really a great resource for you guys. Your veterinarian likely has heard of the VOHC. And you guys, if you want to jot this down, vohc.org. That's the Veterinary Oral Health Council.org. That is a website that has a list of products that all have been researched and all have been proven effective to help slow down that periodontal disease or that gum disease. So plaque off, thumbs up there. It's one of the products. I use it on my own pets. It is phenomenal. All the chews, the powders, all of it. So definitely look into that product for sure, or that product line. Now, another question I have here. You guys have great questions here, so thank you for submitting them. Can I feed the same diet for the rest of my pet's life? Absolutely. If it is a fully balanced diet that has that AAFCO seal of approval or that American Association of Feed Control Officials approval, which Pet Food Express has, that's all they carry, right? Because we want to make sure everything fits those guidelines provided by the AAFCO group there. Absolutely, your dog or cat can eat the same diet every single day. Rotational feeding is also okay as long as your pet can tolerate making the switch to different diets. Absolutely, no problem there. Let's see here. The next question is there a plan to release more diets for cats in the future? And from Just Food for Dogs, yes, there is a plan to release more cat diets, and we were hopeful to have more cat diets released by now. However, we've had a few delays here, but yes, the plan is to absolutely expand our cat line. For those of you that are not aware, we do have a line called Just Food for Cats. It's also carried at Pet Food Express. Now, it is an adult maintenance recipe, and it is fish and chicken based. In fact, all the ingredients are chicken thighs, cod, sardines, chicken liver, chicken hearts, and yucca root. And the yucca root is there for moisture retention and for texture as well. And so it's a great adult feline maintenance recipe. It may have some therapeutic uses for some cats that maybe have digestive issues. So talk to your vet about that as well. But yes, we do have plans to expand the cat line. Now, if you guys have cats that need something very particular, such as a prescription diet, and that's actually one of the next questions. Are there plans for RX or prescription or veterinary support diets for cats? So I'll answer the two questions at the same time. But for those kitties that maybe are needing something specific, or if they just don't like the one feline recipe we have, because hey, cats are the masters of the universe, right? And they choose to eat what they want to eat. And if they don't like it, they don't like it, right? And they let us know. And I have 3 cats of my own, so I've lived this experience. We can always create a custom diet for your kitty. So we can either cook it for you and send it directly to your home. It wouldn't get sent to Pet Food Express, but you can go to our Just Food for Dogs website and explore that as an option. Or if you wanted to cook for your cat, we can create a do-it-yourself meal kit that's customized, a customized recipe for your cat for their specific medical needs, if that's the case, or if they just don't like our one maintenance recipe. So hopefully I answered those 2 questions there. When we do expand our feline line, our Just Food for Cats, yes, we are planning on having prescription or RX or vet support recipes there specifically for kidney disease. So yes, absolutely. Now let's see. Gosh, you guys have great questions here. Here, the next one is, does JFFD or Just Food for Dogs have plans to come out with a dental supplement? That is a great question, and it is certainly something that's on our radar as far as product innovation, research and development. So yes, it is something that we are considering for sure, but we're working on expanding some of our diets first. So yes, absolutely. It's on my wish list as the veterinary dentist. I've been with Just Food for Dogs almost 4 years now, and it's been on my wish list for a very long time. So yeah, we are exploring utilizing different whole food ingredients for our dental chews. Yes. All right, let's see here. The next question, are there clinical trials behind this special kidney formula for dog? That's a great question. So the renal support low protein recipe that we carry on our vet support line. So we do have a diet that is suitable for dogs that have kidney disease at any stage. It does require a prescription for your veterinarian, however. So it is based off of our lamb and brown rice daily diet. Because lamb is so palatable and naturally lower in phosphorus, a little bit more modest in protein, we utilized that recipe, altered it quite a bit. So it did have that protein restriction and that phosphorus restriction that is very beneficial for dogs that have kidney disease. So it's been formulated by our veterinary nutritionists. Now, we personally at Just Food for Dogs have not completed clinical trials for that, but the recipe is modified and designed to fit those very specific needs that dogs with kidney disease have, based on AFCO and based on the literature that is out regarding renal diets or kidney diets and the specific modifications that need to be there for those diets to be effective in management of kidney disease. So great question there. The hopes are, of course, someday to do clinical trials. There are very specific rules that go along with feeding trials, and with clinical trials, we're referring to specifically feeding trials as well. And so it's tricky when it's sick dogs. Feeding trials or clinical trials typically are done on healthy animals because we need to get those healthy baselines. With sick animals, it's a little bit more complex. So we are relying on our veterinary nutritionists that have that background, board certified veterinary nutritionists that have that background and have those resources to design these recipes the proper way. So great question, and thank you for asking that. All right, let's see. Any other questions? And guys, let's see here. We are on for a little bit longer. We've got about a few more minutes there. So if you have any other questions, drop them in the chat. Otherwise, let me see here. I can think of some common questions here that we may get. Let's see here. So bear with me, guys. So I also wanted to address, I know you guys haven't asked here, but kind of going back to the novel protein thing and what your veterinarian may or may not have discussed with you, or maybe something that you may have read online, and it's allergy tests. So I just wanted to kind of clear the waters here, because some folks will either come to us at Just Food for Dogs or may pose that question to Pet Food Express about, hey, my veterinarian ran, or maybe I talked to my veterinarian about running an allergy test. And I just want to clarify here, if you suspect that your dog maybe has a food intolerance, the allergy tests are not very reliable. And I can say that with confidence. We do have a board certified veterinary dermatologist that works with us at Just Food for Dogs. And most, if not all, veterinary dermatologists, and these are the specialists here that deal with skin issues. And these allergy tests that you may read about online, they are kind of useless. I'm not going to lie. They're really very useless. They don't have a whole lot of baselines. The only way to figure out if your dog truly has a food allergies is to do an elimination diet. And what that means is, as I believe Sherry had asked here, the Cocker Spaniel has been on a duck diet by Royal Canin, and then our joint and skin formula, which is pork, novel protein diets. And so the only way that you're going to know if your dog has a food sensitivity or a food allergy is by making that switch to a novel protein diet and keeping them on that diet for at least 6 weeks. No other types of proteins, no other treats. So like everybody in the household has to be on the same page. here where, let's say you make a switch to a venison diet to see if that's going to work for your dog and help improve the itchy skin or the digestive issues. Then they've got to be on that venison diet exclusively, nothing else. So only venison treats, which are available at Pet Food Express, and nothing more for at least 6 weeks. If and when you start seeing an improvement in their digestive health, an improvement in their skin issues, where things start clearing up, like that bulldog I showed you guys, then that's how you're going to know, and that's how your veterinarian is going to know if they truly had a food sensitivity. So please, be very cautious in regards to allergy tests, because they're not really useful, unfortunately. So let's see here. Oh, and we had a few more questions here in the chat. Oh, can you tell us more about the supplements that Just Food for Dogs have? Absolutely. So supplements. We do have a full line of supplements at Just Food for Dogs, and some of them are suitable for cats as well. And so we've got a lot of options here. Since we're talking about allergies, I'll just kind of continue with that. We do have a skin and allergy supplement, and it's olive leaf extract. Really, really effective in helping dogs that have allergies or that tear staining, itchy ears, recurring yeast infections, itchy paws, or constantly licking at their paws, or think about your pugs or your bulldogs that have all these yeast infection issues in their nasal folds. That supplement can be very beneficial. It takes about 2 to 3 weeks for it to really start to work, so be patient with it. Now, we also have a probiotic supplement that you can add to the food for dogs that maybe have sensitive tummies. If you're making that transition to a processed diet to a human-grade fresh whole food recipe, and your dog maybe has a sensitive tummy, we do have that probiotic that can be very beneficial to help with that transition. Or if your dog just tends to be sensitive in general, you can always add that probiotic. They can be on that for long term. We also have joint supplements in Joint Care and Joint Care Plus, and it's glucosamine in the Joint Care and chondroitin, and then our Joint Care Plus also have collagen and hyaluronic acid. These in combination are going to be very beneficial for the joints and helping keep that lubrication of the joints and help mitigate some of that inflammation here and help your pet be a bit more comfortable. We also have a natural calming supplement. This one's for dogs only, but if you have an anxious dog or a dog that maybe has noise phobia or travel anxiety, then that calming supplement can be very beneficial. My little Peter Parker definitely enjoys his calm supplement, and it's valerian root and passion flower and magnesium. All suitable for human consumption, by the way. All of our supplements are suitable for human consumption. So definitely check out our product line at Pet Food Express as far as our supplements go. We also have an Omega Plus, which is our fish oil. Very, very beneficial for dogs that have skin issues, as well as dogs that have joint issues like arthritis. It can help with decreasing inflammation here. So definitely check them out. Oh, let's see here. I have a favorite recovery story? Oh my gosh, there are so many recovery stories. I will share one in particular. A close friend of mine who's actually a human physician called me up one day and told me, man, she had just realized her cat had lost about 2 pounds over about a 6-month period. So sometimes this weight loss is the only symptom you're going to see with illness. And sometimes it's so gradual. We see our pets every day, so it's kind of hard to notice when it's a gradual difference there. But her kitty had lost that's a lot of weight for a cat, 2 pounds. It's like, imagine a 100-pound person losing 20 pounds over a short period of time. That's extreme. And so Kitty was also vomiting as well. And so she actually considered doing the Just Food for Cats. It turns out that her cat actually had lymphoma of the gastrointestinal tract. It was questionable as the grade of lymphoma. It could have been a very severe inflammatory bowel disease, but her kitty was not absorbing the nutrients because of this inflammation in the gut, which again, highly suspicious that it was lymphoma or a cancer of the gut. She made the switch to Just Food for Cats, no chemotherapy, no other treatment at all. Kitty gained weight pretty much immediately, and the vomiting stopped, and now we're at 3 years later, and Kitty is thriving on Just Food for Cats. So this diagnosis was kind of odd, right? Because we have a lot of inflammation in the gut, and the kitty had been on a processed, lower quality type of diet and just turned everything around once they started eating fresh whole food. So that's one of my favorite recovery stories with this kitty, and I have so many more. But I see more questions popping up here, so let's see. For any of the newer seasonal diets, do you have plans to make them a daily, non-seasonal diet? Non-seasonal diet, for example, the breakfast diet. So we do have seasonal recipes that you guys will see at Pet Food Express come in every once in a while. And one of the most popular ones is all day breakfast. And guys, it is so good. I've tried them. I've tried almost all of our recipes, and all day breakfast is like a breakfast burrito for dogs, but minus the breakfast burrito part, just the inside. So so we are in plans of looking at potentially launching some of these seasonal specials, maybe someday as a daily diet. But for now, they're just for fun. If you have a dog where you try a seasonal special like all day breakfast, or gosh, something like in the past, we've done tuna noodle casserole. We've done a lot of different seasonal shepherd's pie. So these are just some examples of these specials. If your dog is thriving and doing well, and that's the diet they want to eat, guess what? We can create a customized version that's fully balanced for your dog through our custom formulation service at Just Food for Dogs. So keep that in mind. Talk to your consultants at Pet Food Express because it is an option. We can certainly create that for you. If, let's say, all day breakfast is your dog's like go-to favorite thing, it's helping improve health for one reason or another, we can create a balanced version of that. But remember, guys, these seasonals, they're just for fun. They're actually not fully balanced. They're literally just the ingredients. We don't supplement them very much at all. They're just for fun. But if your dog enjoys them and you want to keep them on that special for long term, reach out to your Pet Food Express partners. They can get you connected. You can check out our website, that custom formulation service, and we can get it done for you. All right. You guys have great questions. Oh my goodness. Next one I see here is, do you need to add a grain to Just Food for Dogs to help promote heart health? So this is a great question, and we get this question very often. So we have diets that are fully balanced. Remember, our diets, our daily diet line, actually I didn't mention this before, our daily diet line has actually undergone feeding trials. So we actually have done year-long feeding trials. And we got a lot of information, and this exceeded what the AFCO group, the American Association of Feed Control Officials, this exceeded what their baseline protocol is for feeding trials. So we went above and beyond. And so some of those diets have grains, some of them don't have grains, but they're fully balanced and they're minimally processed, meaning they're cooked to food safety temperature. They're fully heart healthy. We have not had in our existence Just Food for Dogs. We've been around for 12 years now, almost 12 years. We haven't had a single issue with dogs having any heart-related problems due to any of our diets. And I'm guessing the reason you may be asking, whoever asked this question, there is a lot of conversation going around about DCM, or dilated cardiomyopathy, in dogs. And this is a heart condition that happens in dogs where they get some heart enlargement. Usually it's due to, most of the time, due to improperly balanced recipes or improperly balanced diets. The whole issue with, is this related to grains or not? Guys, we still don't know as a veterinary community. The research is still being conducted. So the most important message I have for all of you is, whatever you're feeding your dog, just make sure, whether it's a fresh whole food recipe or a processed diet, canned diet, kibble diet, no matter what it is, make sure it is a fully balanced recipe that has the AFCO nutrition claim. And if you're not familiar with what that means, when next time you go into Pet Food Express, ask any of the folks there. They are so very knowledgeable on all of this information. So have that conversation. You can also have that conversation with your veterinarian. There may be mixed messaging from veterinarians because, guys, again, the veterinary community, we are still not exactly sure what is caused the issues with those dogs that have that heart condition that could have been potentially related to food. But what we do know is the majority of them were on diets that were not properly formulated. So the diet can have grains. It can be grain-free as long as it is formulated by a veterinarian. If it's got feeding trials, as the nutrition claims, that's even better. but it can be a diet that's formulated to meet all of the requirements. But you certainly want to see that AFCO nutrition claim on that bag, can, or package of food. All right. So let's see here. Do you think more veterinarians will start to recommend whole food diets versus kibble in the future? You know what? That's an excellent question. And so I just actually came from a veterinary conference in Texas. And in the past, as far being a Just Food for Dogs team member, of course, in the past, we have had so much pushback on fresh whole food diets for dogs and for cats from the veterinary community. And I will be completely transparent. In veterinary medical school, we do get nutrition courses. Absolutely. We are trained and we are qualified as veterinary professionals to have these conversations with pet parents about nutrition. However, what we're not really taught, and I again, I'll speak for myself. I graduated, oh gosh, it's been 12 years now. For the newer generations of veterinarians, I believe that the tide is changing and fresh whole food is certainly being talked about a bit more in our academic training as veterinarians. However, it is you guys, the pet parents, honestly, that are kind of pushing the veterinary community to start really embracing fresh whole foods, because you guys are doing your research and you guys are seeing, what the benefits are in exploring the different types of feeding, right? And being educated by knowledgeable people like you have at Pet Food Express, you're starting to kind of open your eyes. I mean, think about this. What did dogs eat before kibble existed, right? They ate whatever we ate and they thrived and they did great, right? So the veterinary community is certainly shifting that thought process, but you may still find veterinarians that are opposed completely and truly only want you to feed the brands that they are very well familiar with and very comfortable with. And it's because the brands that are veterinary brands, for example, that are kibble diets or canned diets, they have done so much good for the veterinary community and for the animal world by doing so much research. And really, it's about looking at nutrients versus ingredients for them. For us at Just Food for Dogs, we look at both because we truly believe not only does the food absolutely have to have the nutrients that are essential for dogs, but we believe the ingredients and the ingredient quality makes an impact as well. So yes, I do believe veterinarians are going to start making more fresh whole food recommendations because of brands like us, like Just Food for Dogs, that are doing things the right way, doing feeding trials, doing research studies in digestibility and immune function. I can go on and on and on, but yes, the answer is I do believe that vets will turn the corner. And then here lastly, oh gosh, we have 3 minutes left. How did this hour go by so fast? All right, so lastly, I have a question here about how much food would you feed a 30 to 35 pound dog, the joint and skin? I feed him twice a day. Would that be 2 cups or about how much? All right, so without me, because it'll take me some time to kind of calculate that. So all of our recipes have different calorie densities. For the joint and skin support, and I'm guessing it's the Cocker Spaniel mom here, maybe that's asking, but for that joint and, because 30, 35 pounds, that sounds right for about a Cocker. So the joint and skin support, so what we'd have to do is ideally, is your dog at the ideal body weight? And then we calculate those calories out for the ideal body weight, look at the packaging, and we can look at ounces or cups and see what is appropriate for your dog. Now you guys can go on, if you visit your Pet Food Express store, they can walk you through exactly how much you feed. Or you can go on our website, JustFoodForDogs.com. We have a feeding calculator, an online feeding calculator. So you can actually type in your pet's information, how active they are, what their ideal body weight would be, the breed, all of those things, activity level, what they're eating, do they have any health issues, that sort of thing. And then recipes will come up with how much you would feed per day. But you can always talk to your folks at Pet Food Express to give you those numbers so that you can figure out. And remember, if it's a cup, make sure it's a cup, like a 12-ounce cup, not like a coffee tin or not like, this is a cup, but this is a coffee mug and this sucker's huge, right? So make sure that you're measuring out proper cups. And remember that all the different diets have different volumes based on what ingredients are larger in surface area. So my inclination is to calculate what they need to eat in ounces, because you can get more precise there with a scale and actually measure out the ounces versus how much it would take of each particular recipe to fill a cup, because then that's where sometimes we end up overfeeding. or underfeeding that way. So, oh my gosh, you guys, it is 11. We are at the hour. Thank you so, so, so much for all of your questions. Thank you guys so much for attending this talk. I have had a blast educating you guys on how fresh whole food diets, human grade fresh whole food diets can benefit your pets. Thank you to Pet Food Express for joining me here, or actually having me join the pet fair. I am so thankful that we are partners. Thank you all again for attending, and happy Sunday.